Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Care Academy and Veterans Care Coordination for this special webinar on how to double your referrals using your caregivers. We're super excited to present this topic to you and hopefully give you some great information to walk away with. I'll just give everybody just a few more minutes to get logged in, settled down, coffee, water, whatever you need, and then we'll be back in just a moment to start things off. So I'm just going to give everybody just a few more minutes to get logged in. And if you're just joining us, you're in the right place for the Double Your Referrals Using Your Caregivers webinar presented by Care Academy and Veterans Care Coordination. We're just giving everybody a few minutes to get logged in here, and I'm going to start in just one more minute here. So thanks so much for joining us, and hang tight. Wonderful. So I think we're starting to get a few people on the line here. So let's kick this off. So as I said, if you're just joining us, you're in the right place for the Double Your Referrals Using Your Caregivers webinar presented by Care Academy and the Veterans Care Coordination. I'm super excited to bring this topic to you guys today. I think it's a perennial need for us in the home care industry to be looking at how we can make the most out of our businesses, and so while helping caregivers and helping our clients. So super excited to bring this topic to you. I'm going to start by speaking just a little bit about Care Academy. If you're already familiar with us, thanks so much. Welcome back. So glad you love our free educational webinars. If you're not familiar with Care Academy, I'd love to tell you a little bit about us. Care Academy helps agencies grow faster by onboarding their caregivers quickly and helping them effortlessly maintain compliance with their state and federal training rules and regulations. And we do that by highly engaging, interactive online training classes and the easiest to use technology in the industry. So in short, our goal is to help provide the right training at the right time automatically for home care agencies and their caregivers. Today, we're the #1 provider of online training for home care agencies. Our classes were actually designed to be used on mobile devices. So it's not by accident or anything like that. We know that most caregivers don't actually have access to a laptop or desktop. And in fact, using Google Analytics, we know that more than 70% of caregivers are completing our classes on a mobile device. So we had to design our product specifically to be used on mobile devices, and so very proud that the caregivers are able to easily access their classes on their smartphones, tablets, etc. We're also the first e-learning company, really HR software support program to be able to offer a portable training record for caregivers. What that means is that employers now don't have to retrain caregivers that may have taken a Care Academy class at a different agency down the street. Caregivers can easily port that information over to their new employer. So that way you don't have to spend money training or certifying that person on the same class that they already completed, saving employers tons of time and rewarding caregivers for the hard work that they're doing. We also have over 160 hours of training classes now available in our library for our clients. Our Care Academy creates a lot of its own content, and now we've also partnered with Teepa Snow and a training alliance. If you're not familiar with Teepa Snow, she's a world-renowned dementia expert, and we now offer her classes on our platform as well to meet your state compliance and upskill your caregivers. Our easy-to-use technology allows you to see an online dashboard of all of your caregivers' training information and compliance requirements. It's very simple but extremely powerful, and our clients are always delighted when they see how easy to use it is and how easily they maintain compliance. Our customer support is available 7 days a week, and it's delightful. We regularly get feedback that our customer service is fast, friendly, effective, and there when you need it, by phone, email, and chat, of course. And then finally, we are pioneering e-learning as a part of the HR spectrum. We're integrating our platform with ClearCare's platform, and we've already completed other integrations with other agency management software as well. So happy to offer API integration as an opportunity when working with Care Academy to streamline your business and HR workflows. So with that, I'd love to introduce our speaker today. Sheryl Hammonds is the Strategic Partnership Director at Veterans Care Coordination. Sheryl is an experienced home care professional, published author, and frequent speaker. She's held several roles throughout her 11 years in the home care industry, including training, support, and operations. She currently serves as the Strategic Partnerships Director for Veterans Care Coordination, where she focuses on building value-driven relationships, developing revenue-generating programs, and creating educational materials for home care partner companies. Sheryl is the author of Embracing a New Normal, Dealing with Grief and Respecting Religious Differences in Home Care. And so I'm super excited to have Sheryl, with so much experience working in the home care industry, be able to present this topic. She's worked with a lot of agencies who have grown their businesses very well over time. I know that personally from having been in the industry with her for a number of years. So Sheryl, I'd love to pass it over to you, and thank you so much for presenting on this topic today.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Care Academy for giving me the opportunity to present today. It is an exciting topic, and one that I think you will be able to take a little bit away from today and do something with it. Over the last 11 and a half years, I've witnessed agencies, even as recently as last month, treating caregivers as a disposable commodity. Now, with caregivers in such high demand, caregivers are now treating agencies equally as disposable. I believe really a lack of respect and understanding is the root of both. Most caregivers have way more to give than they are ever expected to give. And in turn, the caregiver feels unappreciated and don't understand or respect the agency. So as a result of that, two basic needs of an agency go unmet: retaining those good caregivers and revenue growth. I believe one way to turn this around is to use caregivers beyond caregiving to grow your client base, which in turn grows your revenue. So today we will look at how to double those referrals by using those caregivers. Your caregivers and office staff really are representatives of your agency, and they should all be responsible to market your business. Most home care agencies miss this very important point. So let me say it again. Your entire staff should market your agency. This should be a part of everyone's job description. When you hire a new employee, let them know that you fully expect them to market your agency. By the end of this presentation, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. No doubt, and I'm stressing no doubt, a home care agency should have a full-time marketer, but that does not relieve the rest of the staff from promoting and promoting and promoting and pointing people to your agency. It starts with believing really that every person is a potential client or lead. And once you understand this and you buy into it, then everyone will begin to see opportunities all around them. So, for example, a neighbor at the lower portion of the screen who is recently widowed and struggles with just basic activities of daily living, doesn't know who to talk to or what resources are available. You know, this picture kind of reminds me of Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched, or my mother on a regular basis, actually. They often do not want to ask anyone any questions because they're afraid of losing their independence. So they just remain silent. But a neighbor, could be your caregiver or an office staff person, who knows this, we'll call him Mr. Smith, can talk to him and let him know those options. So being aware of that surrounding is really important. Okay, go to the other side of the screen to the top left. The server in the restaurant may be a family caregiver and needs help taking care of mom so that they can actually work. I have an actual personal story about that. My husband and I go to the local Chick-fil-A here, and there's a lady there named Alice who will refill your drinks or, clean up the table. And we got to know her because we go there often, and we noticed she hadn't been there. And so we asked about her, and they said, oh, she's off right now taking care of her mother who's sick. Well, then when we saw her again, we asked about her mother, and she said, yeah, my mom is really ill, and I don't know what to do because I need to work, and I can't work and take care of her too. What a great opportunity to give the gift of home care to Alice and talk to Alice about the fact that there are options out there for your mother. So a caregiver who goes into a restaurant may very well even know the person that's serving them, or like we do, we get to know the servers and we get to know about their life. And so that's a great example. You go up to the next one over from that is a child's teacher may have a grandparent whose best friend has a need. You never know what they have the reach to. The police officer who responds constantly to non-emergency calls only to discover that the senior is just lonely or even worse, afraid. Living alone can be really a scary thing for a senior, and especially if it's the first time in many, many years that they've had to live alone. And, home care is a perfect example of that companionship, of making sure they're safe and making sure that their basic needs are taken care of. The cashier at the grocery store needs to work, but keeps having to take off to take her aunt to the doctor. Churches, parishes, and synagogues are full of not only potential clients, but other caregivers as well. According to leadinghomecare.com, 85% of caregivers worship regularly. In this setting, many times a referral from a fellow worshiper is much more valuable than any marketing strategy you can implement. So as you can see, if your mind starts to think that way, you will see opportunities everywhere, and you'll see that everyone is a potential lead or referral at that point. Actually, caregivers represent and market your agency already, whether it's good or bad. They talk about what they do, and they talk about your agency to their friends, to their clients' friends and family, to their clients' neighbors. If your caregivers wear logoed shirts, they represent you everywhere they go with that shirt on. Caregivers have a circle of influence just like you and I, people that you may never meet. They have friends that they influence that you do not have that influence over. Caregivers will come in contact with people you will not. They also typically are very social people. They naturally care about people and can talk to just about anyone. They're often active on Facebook or Instagram. Ask them if they're willing to share posts on their Facebook page. When caregivers are guided properly and empowered to share with their friends and followers, that expands your reach. Caregivers will basically beam with pride about what they do in their agencies if they feel they're making a difference. I honestly don't think I've ever met anyone that didn't want to make a difference, that didn't want to end their life saying, I left this world better than when I came in, that I made a difference with someone. And so caregivers are no different, and you have to really capitalize on that too. Isn't that why most caregivers get into the business anyway? I mean, not all, I get it. But a lot of your good caregivers get into it because they want to make a difference and help people. I have a story about that. I met a girl, and I'll call her Mary. She worked for an agency that implemented kind of a certification program for caregivers. And they could achieve certain levels by completing, like a set of trainings and a mentorship. Well, Mary had been a caregiver for 10 years plus with a variety of agencies, not particularly just this one. She was the first to enroll and complete the program. And I met her, and she was so incredibly proud of her accomplishments that she asked if she could get a bumper sticker and a jacket with that on it. She told me she loved the agency and the owner and her client because they made her feel important. She would talk to her family and friends about her agency and just about anyone who would listen. So do you think Mary made an impact on her agency's referrals? They did. And I know that for a fact. Her circle of influence reached beyond the marketers and the owner. Her family was proud of her and told her friends, anyone that they knew, how proud they were of Mary. And that took that reach even broader. If you're old enough to remember the Breck commercial, so I'm probably aging myself just a bit, there was a commercial, and Breck was a shampoo. And it started out, it said that she told two friends who told two friends who told two friends. And the screen would start to divide with all of these people as they said that. The idea was that the word spread, and it started with one person telling two people. Well, in essence, that's what Mary did. And everyone who came in contact with Mary, including her clients and their families, knew she was respected and excited about her agency. So the client and their families were happy, and Mary literally brought referrals to that agency. So how do you do this? Well, you use your caregivers as an extension to your marketer. It doesn't replace your marketer. It's an extension to it. You train your caregivers to be referral generators. And as I said earlier, you should expect them to do it. Not only your marketer bring you referrals, but your caregivers, and let's throw the staff in too. You put it in their job descriptions. You talk about it. And we'll go through some more things in a minute. Make it known that you expect it. Talk about it at every staff meeting, in the caregiver's interview, anytime you have an opportunity. They should know you expect it. Provide brochures, business cards, contact information to your caregivers. Make up a kit for them. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, some brochures. And, I have a friend that has business cards with no name on it. It's just the business card. And she puts a number on the back of it that's unique to that particular caregiver. And she gives them business cards. And they are expected to give them out. And do that on your brochures too, so that it's unique. And then when you get a referral and you ask them, how did you hear about us? And they say, either I have a business card or I have a brochure, you can ask them to turn it over. And is there a number on the back? If they do, you'll know exactly who that referral came from. Reward a caregiver that brings in the referral. And I'm going to say this a lot of times today because it's that important. It could be a gift card. It could give them 2 hours of PTO. It could be points that they generate to be able to purchase logo wear or a gift card later. You could have a little kind of store, so to speak. Encourage them and let them know that you're excited about it. You know, the one thing that I hear a lot of times is that agencies are not very confident or they're not very trusting of their caregivers. And I know that a lot of them do, you know, there's a reason that they earn that distrust a lot of times. But there are a lot of great caregivers that you need to encourage and be really excited about them having this opportunity. The key is to show confidence in them. If you don't show confidence in the caregiver, they're going to feel that you don't care anyway. And they're not going to care because you don't, you know, in their mind, you don't care. When someone brings in a referral, whether they become a client or not, shout it from the rooftops. Make a huge deal about it. Celebrate it as if they just saved your agency. If you make a big deal out of it, they will feel like it's a big deal, and others will want the same praise. Because anything you look at, recognition is always top in what people desire in an employee-employer relationship. Another way you can do this is provide opportunities for those good top caregivers to expand their role. Invite them to attend an expo or a trade show or a community event that you're exhibiting at. The picture that you're seeing here is of Mike Steiner and his caregiver, Irene. They're from right at home in Grayslake, Illinois. She worked alongside Mike at a home expo. This is a great example of expanding that caregiver role and elevating them to a professional level. This does two things. It gives Irene that feeling of being important and that what she does is important, and that it puts her at a professional level in which will turn around and make her loyal to that company. The second thing that it does is when someone meets Irene at this particular, we'll just say at this expo that they were at, that it puts a face with the name caregiver. It's not now just a word, it's a person. And if she does a great job, she's going to make them feel really comfortable with putting someone in their home because they're going to meet a caregiver. So you can see it has two really great results in that it elevates her and makes her more loyal, but it also demonstrates kind of what they can expect by hiring this agency. You know, a lot of times people are experiencing the need for home care for the first time, and they don't know what that means or how that looks. And so giving them a good example really helps them visualize it better in their mind. I would recommend always having a caregiver at these events. It's also a good place to recruit caregivers as well. Every time you exhibit, you should have a section or a place where you have a caregivers wanted type display. And your caregivers can talk to prospective caregivers about coming to work for you. Another way is volunteering. It can be a great way to get to know people who are hard to reach. You know, some people like hospitalists, discharge planners, social workers. Sometimes they're hard to get to. I have a friend in the developmental disability community that was trying to connect with a certain social worker and was not having any luck whatsoever. I mean, it was closed door, not available, just left, you know, all those things you've heard before. She had a really good caregiver that needed some extra hours, but she didn't have a client to really set her up with, so she sent her to volunteer for the day at Meals on Wheels. And guess who was also volunteering that day? Yep, the social worker that she was trying to reach. The caregiver struck up a conversation and then eventually connected her boss with the social worker. this is a great example of using volunteering as an outreach to your community, but also could open doors for your agencies. I have had experience with agencies volunteering at the hospital. The owner actually volunteered at the hospital a couple days a week, has total access to the entire hospital, and met all kinds of people, and there again got some doors open. Independent living communities and assisted living communities are always looking for people to do activities. It's a good place for bingo. I have called my number of bingo games in my life, and they love it. You can also set up a board game tournament, bring in Sorry and Monopoly and those kind of games, and host a little tournament, board game tournament, or host a themed dance. I've done those before in my career, where I hosted, now, and if you're in the north, you're experiencing all the cold, and I always hosted something like a beachy kind of theme in January or February when I was in the developmental disability community, and they loved it. It was always a lot of fun. Use your caregivers to plan, not only be there, but plan and execute it. That's another way of elevating them to reach out beyond their role. It can be fun for them and for the residents. According to caregiver.org, approximately 43.5 million caregivers have provided unpaid care to adults, and these are family caregivers, in the last 12 months. About 15.7 million adult family caregivers care for someone with Alzheimer's disease or any other type of dementia. And the average hours a family caregiver provides ranges from 30 to 35 hours per week. Knowing this, we know that many family caregivers also have jobs, children, and other family responsibilities. They are caregiving without any training or experience. So hosting a family caregiving support group can actually allow your caregivers to share tips, experiences, help them, with understanding some of the things that's going on in their home. And you may think, well, this is counterproductive. I want to care for these people, not provide resources for the family. But in reality, using caregivers and treating them as professionals and introducing the option of professional caregiving to those families could actually be a great marketing effort too, because these families are coming in, they're exhausted, they're tired, they don't know what to do, and then all of a sudden they feel relief because someone understands what they're going through, and then they recognize that I'm not a bad person if I call in a home care agency to help my mom or my dad. I don't have to take all of this on. And then ride-alongs is twofold. They can attend a home consult with whoever's doing your home consults, or two, they can spend an afternoon with the marketer. Go out with a marketer. Again, it kind of does the same thing as going to the expo. It's letting the referring or the referring office that you're going to see a caregiver, meet a caregiver, talk to a caregiver. And it also really makes the caregiver feel that whatever they're doing is really important. So how do you train your caregivers to be a referral generator? Well, first you got to take the fear out of it. If you told a caregiver, well, you know what, I need you to be a marketer or a salesperson, this is what they would probably say back to you. I can't do that. I'm not a marketer, and I'm certainly not a salesperson. I don't know how to do it. Well, let me read you the definition of a marketer, or marketing, excuse me. Marketing is the practice of building relationships with potential customers so that you can promote products and services. Well, that's easy enough for us to understand, but it may not exactly sink in with your caregivers or your staff. So do away with that professional definition and just make it simple and easy to understand and eliminate that fear. So what is marketing for your caregivers? Well, simply put, it's talking to your friends, family, or anyone that they meet about home care, collect their information, and give it to the appropriate person. So what are you asking them to do? Recognize a need, looking at that neighbor, the teacher, the police officer, the restaurant server, whoever it is they're coming in contact with, recognize a need, talk about what they do, what that caregiver does, tell them how your agency can help, and direct them to the right person. Done. That's much easier for them to swallow. Talk about it again. Like I said, often. Talk about it often, every time you meet. Caregivers should be able to quote it word for word. And again, shout it from the rooftops. Celebrate. If you don't do that constantly, it will be forgotten and you will not see much, if any, results. This has to be over the top in recognition, and trust me, if you do that, it will work. There are many acronyms, words that we use in this industry, like ADLs, SNFs, ALs, ILs, that we use all the time, and we all know what they mean. Don't make the mistake of thinking that your caregivers know and understand them. Make sure that you train the industry language and provide even maybe a sheet with definitions for them to look at in the future if they forget. Train on the difference between skilled and non-medical services. You know, if you don't do that, you take the risk of the caregiver performing a skilled service that they're not just really thinking about being a skilled service, which could then get you in trouble. And, you know, many people get Medicare and Medicaid mixed up. Now that Medicare Advantage is adding non-medical home care, it's going to get even more complicated. The best way to describe it is Medicare is based on age. Medicaid is based on income. And I often emphasize that aid part. And I say, you know, Medicaid means that they're giving income aid. A person who is eligible for Medicaid, they have to be below a certain income level depending on the state. A person eligible for Medicare has to be 65 or older, but it's not tied to income. For this, I say Medicare is medical care insurance. So I try to do things to help people do a word association so they get them correct. The difference between private pay and third-party pay can also be a little bit confusing. Private pay can be explained when the client or the client's family pays out of pocket, where third-party pay is paid out from an insurance, a state or federal fund, and it is not from the family. Now, pension with aid and attendance, that is what we do best, and that's where I feel it's not talked about enough. This benefit is for wartime veterans who served at least 90 days and 1 day during a war period, such as World War II, Korean conflict, Vietnam era, and are 65 years of age and older. What they may not know is that this is also available to spouses of veterans. So when your caregiver is talking with their client and they realize that the client's husband, who died 20 years ago, was a wartime veteran, they will know to contact the office and say, hey, you know, Miss Smith may be eligible for more hours. Her husband, who died 20 years ago, was in the military during a wartime. This can be a referral sent to us, to VCC, and we can take it from there. Our expertise assists the potential client through the process. If they went direct to the VA, it could take up to a year. Historically, our process has taken 3 to 4 months. Because of this, our client starts of care, or they add hours much faster, putting more money back into the pockets of the agency, as well as providing the care needed for the individual. The beauty of this benefit is that it is a lifetime benefit once they are approved. This is where our partnership becomes the most valuable. Our client care team works to ensure the clients stay eligible. the awarded hours are used, and the client is happy. Because of this, our client tenure averages about 18 months, which is 60% longer than the industry average. The fact that your caregiver knows this information will help them speak correctly about this little-known benefit and will encourage them to pass the potential client along to you. Now, this is a short list of industry language. I encourage you to put together a definition sheet of common acronyms and words that you use in your agency so that the caregivers are well educated about them. The one thing that you need to do that I don't know that often happens, and it should happen, is provide quarterly trainings, and you can have your meetings at the same time. And the way that you can really get your training across is by telling a story. I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories, and I have a story basically for everything. You give me a topic, and I can probably come up with a story that's real, oddly enough. But I love to tell stories. So you might tell a story like this. So Debbie leaves her client's home, and she meets her friend Sheryl at Chipotle for dinner. And Sheryl asks Debbie, "How was your day?" And Debbie proceeds to tell her that she had a great day with her client. No names, of course. After breakfast, the client wanted to go to the park and feed the ducks. I was so excited because when I first got this client, she wouldn't even go outside. So today was huge, and it was a huge success. Well, the person next to Debbie and Sheryl interrupts them, and he says, "I apologize for interrupting. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I just came from my parents' house. My mother is not doing well, and I don't know what to do for her. I work a full-time job. My dad is not able to take care of her. I travel with my job, and my sister lives out of state. Where do you work?" And Debbie replies the name of her home care agency. And then the man asks Debbie, "What exactly do you do?" Well, this is a perfect time to stop your story and look at your caregivers and ask them, what would be your answer? Now, don't intimidate them. Allow them to say something crazy that you would never want them to say. And that way you can guide them and let them brainstorm what that answer should be. Because telling a story sticks in the minds of people. You will probably be able to repeat that story later today or tomorrow because you heard the story, and if you were listening, you will be able to retell the story. And it also by allowing them to brainstorm together and come up with what a good answer would be, sticks with them. If you have a marketer, have them also attend these quarterly trainings and provide tips. Something like how to start the conversation with someone that they meet. Maybe what is a gatekeeper and how to get them to warm up to you. Excuse me, I can't talk today. Caregivers talk to gatekeepers all the time. When they're talking to their client, the gatekeeper while their client's seeing the doctor, or when they are taking their client to dialysis and they're sitting there talking to the receptionist. Educate them on how to open that dialogue so they can open an opportunity for your marketer. I will tell you, the gatekeeper will not see that caregiver as a threat, and she will not put her guard up. She'll end up talking, or he will end up talking to that caregiver, and they have a great ability to open up that opportunity. You're not asking them to go out and be a professional marketer. Don't get me wrong. You're asking them to see a need and then tell them how your agency can fix it. The key is to talk about it often, and I told you I was going to say it a lot, and I'm delivering. The more you talk about it, the more comfortable your caregivers will be. And then, something fun that you can do is issue some small challenges. Competition can be fun, and it can be very productive. So one way is to give 5 brochures to each caregiver and give them 1 month. Ask them to give 1 to a potential referrer or a client, a potential new client. Once they've passed them all out, tell them to let you know and let you know who you gave them to, because you don't want them to go throw them in the trash and go, oh, I gave them all out. They have to tell you where they've delivered these or who they gave them to. Reward it by sending out an email acknowledging they did a great job. Have a sign in your office with the caregivers' names that completed the challenge. At your next training or your next staff meeting, acknowledge them again. Another challenge could be for them to email you or the marketer when they've recognized a need and ask that person if they could help. Now, that may not go any further than that, but that's getting them to actually do it and get recognition for it. Basically, just tell you what happened. And as you get them, send it out to everyone telling their story. Another possible challenge would be to give them 1 month to connect the marketer to one potential referrer. It could be that gatekeeper that they struck up a friendship with, or even their own personal doctor that they went to see, and they started talking about where they worked, and they connect the doctor or the nurse up with your marketer. No matter what, celebrate each time a caregiver does a challenge. And I know what you're thinking. I've heard it before. I'm not sure I want my caregivers out marketing for me. Remember, they're already doing it. They're already marketing for you, positively or negatively. It's really going to be up to you to ensure it's a positive representation. The benefits, I really feel, outweigh the fear of using your caregivers. But you can't just stick them out there and with no training and expect them to do a bang-up job. You're going to have to put some effort into it. By educating and elevating your caregivers, you're investing in them, which will in turn increase your caregiver retention because they're going to feel valued. Just like Mary that I talked about earlier, she felt very valued. She was going nowhere because that was her place. And I can tell you she thought of caregiving as a career, not a job. Your caregivers will be more invested if they feel like they play a role in the success of the agency, if they're part of the success. Because caregivers are rarely in the office, they feel sometimes disconnected with little loyalty to the agency and actually more loyalty toward their clients. Using your caregivers in a marketing capacity brings them into the corporate team. They now feel a connection. Caregivers have long been treated as a babysitter, which we know is far from the truth. Using them in a way will help them gain confidence, with which makes them better caregivers and more professional. They will become more loyal to you. Caregivers are recruited 3 to 4 times a week in today's environment. If they are not loyal to you, they're going to be gone. Elevating them to a professional level and as a corporate team member will bring loyalty and build that loyalty. Some caregivers need an opportunity to move within the agency. They don't want to feel stuck in that role. Provide roles that caregivers can work toward, like a lead caregiver, a mentor program coordinator, a marketer. Actually, I know someone who started out as a caregiver, became a marketer, and eventually bought the agency. This person probably would not have stayed had she not had the opportunity to expand her role. She was a great caregiver, I guarantee you that. She was an even better marketer, and now she runs a great agency. So that was a win for everybody. So what do you have to lose? Training your caregivers to market your agency is a positive. If you only get one client from doing this, you will have increased your referrals. It's not a losing method. Your referrals will increase either directly from the caregiver or indirectly from taking your team to a new professional level. It will foster competitiveness if you communicate it often and enthusiastically, and you keep it in front of them. A friendly competition is always good. Increased business means increased hours and maybe preferred shifts for those great caregivers that are out doing all the things that you've just taught them to do. This also produces a winning team, a loyal team, which will reduce your turnover rate, increase your caregivers pool, because your loyal caregivers often know other good caregivers, and it ultimately will grow your agency. So in my mind, it's a win-win method. This takes a bit of work, though, and consistent effort. But in today's caregiver climate, you must put in the effort or your turnover rate will continue to grow. And I'm telling you, if you're not putting in almost the same amount of effort of finding these good caregivers as you are finding good clients, your turnover rate is probably pretty high. Caregivers have options floating all around them. So take away that temptation by elevating caregivers to a professional level and use them to grow your agency. Train them how to be good marketing agents of your agency and help them to get excited about seeing the results of what they're doing, and that the result is growing the agency, your agency, so that they can then have possibly preferred hours, better hours, and maybe a chance to move up in the company. So there is my take on all of this. So I'll take some questions if, before I do that, here's my contact information. I can be contacted at chammonds@vcchc.com. My cell number is 513-344-9446, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you and connect with you. So now, if you have any questions, I am willing to take questions. If you can type them in the chat, or we can unmute you if you raise your hand.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sheryl. This is Jen again from Care Academy. As people type in questions here, I'll just give people a couple minutes. I'll just let everybody know we are recording this, and we will be sending out the recording. So we got a few questions around that. So the recording will be available usually in just a business day for anybody who missed it and wants to pass along to a colleague. So anybody else who would like to ask any questions of Sheryl, now's the time. Certainly you can always contact her after. Looks like we've got a couple questions coming in. Let me sort through here in just a moment. Okay, so this is a great question. Marika is wondering if you can provide an example of what the perfect reply would be from a caregiver about what they do. So when, they're the caregiver's elevator pitch, if you will, what would you maybe suggest as a good example?
That is a good question, and you probably want to look at what services you offer, certainly, and there has to be those in there, in a generality. And I would say that a good answer to that would be that we provide care and assistance for those who want to stay at home and remain independent as long as possible. We can be there as simple as companionship and keeping the senior active and involved, or we can go as far as personal care of helping them with just their basic needs during the day. So you really want to formulate something that is really specific to your agency, that really speaks and talks about the personality of your agency. You don't want to get too wordy or too industry wordy. I guess I don't know if that's real, but just want to say, because you don't want to confuse the the person they're talking to. And it needs to be in language that they would understand, but yet is a great reflection of your agency. I hope that answered the question. I felt like I went round, sounded like a political answer to me, but it really has to be unique and something that, if you create something that is just, like you say, okay, this is how I want you to say it. It's not going to be in their words. And so that's why the brainstorming is so important, because it will become personal to them. And you want it to be, because that's what they will say. If I gave you something or you gave them something, it would be my words or your words. You want it to be theirs, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's so true. That's one of those things that when you come up with it yourself, or at least somebody coaches you through the process of figuring out how you want to say it, you get to influence that caregiver in terms of what they're going to say, but also they'll remember it better because they actually came up with it themselves. So it's a super great point, Sheryl. Thank you. Another question here from Jason is he's wondering, do you see agencies giving client referral bonuses to caregivers? And if so, how much?
I do. A lot of times it's a gift card. It could be a gas card. I've seen some agencies give it as PTO time, like, for every referral they got 2 hours of PTO time. They can also do, they go into a point system where they can get so many points and they get a bonus. If they're, with referrals, you don't expect them to give you 5 or 10 a week. So it's not going to be super expensive for you to give a bonus to them. I've seen them do up to, $50, $100, but the client had to stay for a certain period of time, whether that be 60 days. You would have to figure that out from a financial standpoint if it made sense for you. But, a gas card is always helpful, a gift card. Sometimes that PTO is most important to them because they want some paid time off. And so if they bring you 5 referrals and you give them 2 hours of PTO time for each, that's 10 hours. 10 hours, is not much if you got 3 clients out of the 5, or even 2 out of the 5 would probably pay for that easily.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, and I've heard similar numbers around there as well, and also depending on the same factors, whether or not the client stays and how long. I think there's a lot of creative stuff you can do there, and I think kind of to what you were getting at also, I think testing is important too. You might try it one way for a few months, see what it produces, track that, document it, and then try it a different way. So we have a few more people also asking that, very similar question there. And then there's actually a few people who I'll refer to you directly after the presentation, Sheryl. Several people asking about specific information about Veterans Care Coordination. So actually, if you want to go back one slide to your contact information, so that way folks can get in touch with you. That's perfect, yeah. So if everybody wants to take down Sheryl's information, so that way you can follow up, I'll make sure that she has your information as well for those folks who are asking questions about Veterans Care Coordination specifically. So I think we've answered the bulk of the questions for the moment, and we're approaching the end of the hour here. So I think with that, I'd love to thank Sheryl so much. That was a wonderful presentation. I really got a lot out of it. I can tell from these questions that our audience is really interested and engaged, so thank you so much. Before we move on to a very brief demonstration of Care Academy, I just want to offer everybody a special offer for being here today. Happy leap year. We have 29 days this February, and we're offering you a really special offer. If you're interested in learning more about Care Academy and signing up for Care Academy's services this month by the 29th, then you will actually get a free tablet with your subscription. So here is our contact information. So if you're interested in more education for your caregivers and how you help train them, get them onboarded quickly, so that way they can help you generate more referrals, please contact our team here. They're happy to do a demonstration personally for you, and walk you through how Care Academy works. And don't forget that special offer by the end of the month. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and actually turn it over to one of my team members. Jonalyn Kelman is a training specialist here at Care Academy, and she's going to do a brief demonstration of Care Academy for you. So I'll swing over to Jonalyn.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Sheryl, for that amazing presentation. I am going to go ahead and share our training platform with you all. I know we are a little pressed for time here, so I'm going to give you a high-level overview. Once this is complete, feel free, as Jen said, to reach out to us if we can be of additional assistance or really go into depth with you on maybe some of your training needs. What you're currently looking at is our administrative dashboard. So this is the e-learning platform that is going to provide your caregivers with all of the right training at all of the right time, anywhere your caregivers are. And that's because our courses are 100% mobile compatible. So they can take them on any iOS device, any Android device, tablets, you name it. What we're looking at now is our caregiver training list. So you'll see just a long list of my caregivers here. Moving over here to the right, this shows their initial training. So I've got, my state compliance training set up here. This is showing the progress of initial training, when their due date for this initial training is. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see I've got some caregivers that have completely finished initial training. I've got some that are still in progress, and it's telling me how much time they have left for that. Same thing with annual training here. You've got your progress, your due dates for annual training. One of the nice things about the Care Academy platform is that we do automated reminders. So we will send those text messages and emails out to your caregivers, reminding them that they have training that is going to be due soon, and to go ahead and jump in the system and get that training completed. You've got a few options up here to give you some really quick snapshots as well. So your initial training, this will tell you every caregiver that's in initial training only. If you've got caregivers that are due soon, you can go ahead and click this option and see who's upcoming for their annual training due. And if you had anyone overdue, which I'm sure none of you will, they would appear here in this section. A couple other sections up here that I just want to go over with you. Caregiver groups. So we do allow the option to be able to group your caregivers together, and in turn be able to customize training for your caregivers, your CNAs, your home health aides, and you'd be able to customize this training here in the curriculum section right up here. There are a number of things that you can do here, from customizing everyone to have the same training to training schedules where courses are provided to caregivers every month and so forth. We've got deactivated caregivers up here, and then you've got a message log. So those text messages and emails that go out to your caregivers, you will be able to see them all here and be able to kind of track everything if you wanted to just confirm that something was received. Couple other things on this administrative dashboard that I want to share with you. You can print reports. So I've actually pre-done this here. We've got a training log. So this will be able to tell you all of the training that's done by each caregiver, how many hours of training, whether this training was attributed for completion of initial or annual training requirements. We've got state approvals. You can kind of take a look at this really briefly to see all of the specifics that it goes into. It actually goes into a little bit more. If you have more questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to go in more depth and share that with you. All of our courses do have a certificate of completion attached, so your caregivers will be able to show completion records for all of the courses that they've taken. And this is what it's going to look like. It'll have all the information that you need for all of that training tracking, for marketing as well. I know a lot of agencies may use this type of stuff to be able to share with potential clients and their families. So you will have that. And then the last thing I wanted to show you quickly is the fact that our courses are mobile compatible. I am using this simulator for a mobile phone here. I'm going to go right to our training site. go.careacademy.com, and here your caregivers will be able to log right into their training portal. So they'll plug in their email address or phone number, their password. They will be able to get right to their courses and take training. Let's see if I can spell for you here, and get to some, at least a portal. Oh, got it. Usually I get the password wrong. So this caregiver has a couple of agencies of mine that they transfer to and from, and so they'll be able to take a look at that and be able to take training for those particular locations. Again, happy to go into this more in depth. If anybody has any questions or if we can be of some assistance, please feel free to answer the poll question upcoming, which is, would you like Care Academy to reach out to you? And don't forget the special offer for all of you who have attended the webinar today. If you do decide to sign up for any of Care Academy's subscriptions, you will be able to obtain a free tablet for leap year. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with some of you again soon. Take care now.